Greetings, CCS team. I am Wendy Ritchie, your Chief Compliance Officer.
I am Rachel Kotak-Goldberg, the Assistant Director of Quality and Compliance.
And I am Mary Ray, the Manager of Compliance.
Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? A couple important things. First, compliance and what we've done in 2015 to influence compliance, what it means to you, and then we're going to talk a little bit about 2016 and what we're doing to influence that. Rachel's going to talk a little bit about quality initiatives we have in place that supports you and will help influence success for you and the company. And then Mary's going to talk a little bit about quality initiatives we're doing with the call centers and some, we'll call it SPIP, and hopefully everyone knows what that is from our communication, but that's our strategic plan, process improvement plans, and this is influencing opportunities on how we can do things better. So first, let me start with talking about compliance. So the OIG, which is the Office of Inspector General, came out with rules around what compliance should include. And those elements are 7 elements around what compliance should include. An example would be policies and procedures. Companies should have policies and procedures in place that helps every employee understand what's expected of you to do your job. Those resources are being built. We have put a formal process in place to support building policies and procedures for all functions, as well as SOPs. We'll call them SOPs, but it's steps around how we do what we do, which will be like a downflow from policies and procedures. Those resources will be built for you and will be resources on the SharePoint site. So if you have a question or if you want to look up a rule, you'll know where to go to get that information. That is very important. So that's something that we started last year, but we're continuing to build. Another point is compliance officer. Well, that would be me. I was brought on to CCS last March, so I've been here a year. So CCS has shown the commitment to compliance by hiring a compliance officer. That is a statement. The next very important piece to compliance is training and education. That is what we're doing today. Training, you can't do enough training, and I think you probably agree with that. Because if you keep training and looking at opportunities on how we can improve, that influences your success and it influences the company's success. So it is really important, and very, very important to me, is if you don't know something, ask. Don't ever feel like you can't ask. Always focus on how you do it right. And if you make a mistake, it takes a big person to just step up and say, I messed up. Let's talk about how we fix it, and we move on. That's opportunity. That's training and education. That is something that we are focusing on very much in 2016. We started last year. You'll be continuing to hear more of that. Communication. I think everyone hopefully is reading our weekly tips. I get a lot of responses. So weekly tips involving something that's work related or weekly tips that would be helpful to you. For example, we put out some tips around what you should do when you're sitting at your desk for a long period of time. It's important to move. You don't want to just sit idle for 8 hours. You want to move around. So even though it wasn't a compliance tip, it was reaching out to you as an employee and what you mean to us. Some additional communication things we're doing is the monthly newsletter. So the monthly newsletter has a lot of information that comes from the regulators. It has a calendar. We're sharing releases that come out, whether it comes from the state or it comes from feds. It's keeping you informed. If you take the time to read through our newsletter, you'll just stay in tune with what is happening and what is to come. It's not formal, so if you have suggestions, we want to hear it. Some more important things that's part of the compliance steps would be monitoring and auditing. So Rachel and Mary are going to talk about some monitoring and auditing that we've put into place, started in 2015, continuing to build through 2016. What is it? It's a tool to help you succeed. So it's important when you get involved in the monitoring auditing that we're doing, look at it as a positive tool to help you with your career and to help you succeed. Because that is where we're going to identify training opportunities. Monitoring auditing is not a negative. Embrace it, support it, and help us work through it. So there's going to be more to come about that because Rachel will take you into some of those details as well as Mary. So that is kind of where we're going. That is how we support the 7 elements to compliance. And I will tell you, this will set us apart from many companies out there because the company is dedicated to compliance. Do it right. Never ever feel like you can't ask a question. You have resources like our hotline. You have our mailbox. You can be anonymous, but I encourage you to just step up. Leave your name. Let us ask questions. Don't overthink it. Let us think about it. Let us walk through investigations if it's needed and support you. That is why we're here. And we appreciate you and the support that you have, your influence actually on a daily basis with compliance. It's everyone's job. It's not my job. It's everyone's job. So we thank you and we hope that you find this helpful and we want to hear from you. Thank you. Now we're going to have Rachel tell you a little bit about quality and the initiatives we put into place in 2015 and what we continue to work on.
So the quality team has been very busy, and it's to ensure that the work we're doing is meaningful and helpful for you. So what have we done? We've created a team using 4 RNs to help support the clinical work that happens here. We are, in fact, a clinically oriented company. So what does that mean? We're reviewing charts and documentation and reaching out to members to ensure that the visits that we're performing here are meaningful to our members and to our clients. So what are we looking at? We're looking to make sure that documentation is consistent, that the overall picture of the visit is clear and concise, and that the information we're passing on to our clients is useful for them to continue their work. So what else are we doing here? We've implemented a clinical roundtable and an executive quality committee. All of the results that our auditors are reviewing will go to these committees so that we can make sure if there are training opportunities, we're getting them to you. So do not be nervous about the information that we're passing on to you. It's here to help. It's here to make sure that your job is easier for you to perform and that you understand clear expectations. These are all good things. We've also implemented a clinical classroom email address. The clinical classroom email address, which you've probably seen in our tips, is here again as another use of support for you. So if you have questions about documentation or a particular situation, please feel free to send comments to us. If it's of an emergent nature or an urgent nature, please do not send comments to the email address and follow the escalation policies that you already have in place to make sure that your members are safe. We've also implemented some oversight on additional areas of the company, including our credentialing team, our HR team, and to make sure that we're following all necessary rules brought on by states and the federal government, including ensuring that we're doing oversight of sanction monitoring, etc. These are some of the initiatives that we've put into place in 2015. We'll continue to ensure that they're more robust for 2016. If you have any comments or suggestions on pieces of education that you would like to see from us or tips that you'd like to see from us of a clinical nature, please feel free to send them to our clinical classroom box or our compliance box. And now Mary's going to share some additional information about oversight of our call center team and our SPIC process. Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel. So hello, I'm Mary, and I'm going to speak to you a little bit about how we audit and monitor in our operations. The first way we do that is in our call center. We ensure that we are auditing our calls to ensure that we have a high quality of call and member engagement, that we're explaining the programs properly, and that we are able to convert our members into our programs to help benefit them. One of the ways in which we do that is we have revised our call audit tool. We've made it more customized. It allows us to monitor trends and to identify training opportunities. We have inter-rater reliability sessions with the call center, and this helps us make sure that we are all auditing in the same way, that we're looking for the same things, and we're supporting our call center team as best as possible. In addition to that, we have an SPIP process, which Wendy already touched on. It is our Strategic Process Improvement Plan. And this is a way in which we identify trends that maybe are having some improvement needed. We identify deficiencies, we document these issues, and then we formulate remediation plans. We work with the appropriate parties. We have responsible parties for every single one of our SPIPs. And it is their responsibility to be accountable to the Compliance Committee and to the Operations Committee to report on their progress on how they are remediating these issues. Often this results in process improvement, and we are able to then develop additional SOPs or policies to support what we are doing and then roll out training so the whole company understands how they should be working in their own functions. Lastly, we also have a delegation oversight committee. And this committee is very important because it ensures we have oversight and we monitor our delegated vendors. What are delegated vendors? They are vendors who touch any sort of member PHI within the company. And any person who works for those vendors needs to be monitored, as well as the contracts that we have with those vendors to ensure that the SLAs are being properly monitored and that we are sticking to our contracts, that they are giving us reports to show us that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, that they are supporting our business the way that they have said they were going to, as well as that they are sanction monitoring and they are doing compliance training as well. And we do that through annual audits, as well as regular monitoring of all of their reports that they give to us. These are some ways in which we can audit and monitor the operations of our company.
Okay, so in summary, we've talked a little bit about compliance to give you a better understanding of what an effective compliance program is, what your role is, which is very important. Hopefully after the presentation today, you'll have an even better understanding around how we're going to do audits and how that impacts you and helps you succeed as an employee with CCS. And that will also influence how our clients perceive our performance, which is important. So again, remember, always ask, don't assume, and no question is a bad question. We appreciate your participation and we're very hopeful that this helped you, and we're open to any comments. Thank you very much.